Welcome to Insights into Insurance with Tom Sorensen of Americana Insurance Group. All information provided is educational in nature and not intended to be acted upon without first consulting the appropriately licensed professional.
It's Insights to Insurance here on KATE on this Saturday morning. Tom Sorensen from Americana Insurance is our host. And Tom, we've got another email question. This more hail-related this week.
Yeah, this is a great question because this is, as a agent, this is one of the hardest things to deal with in our business, to be honest with you. And our listener email question today is, "Hi, Tom. Really been liking your show. I listen to it every week. One of the things that I'd like to ask you is about hail and roofs. Why do some companies deny claims on roof and others will pay?"
Good question.
And it was an emailer by the name of John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. So, John, guess what? I've got another special guest to help answer that question because, boy, there's a lot of things that go with this question. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to Tom Carlson of North Star Insurance. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, thanks for coming on the air with us. Appreciate it. Have an expert like you. First of all, Tom, tell us where you're from, what you do.
Like you had said, I'm with North Star Mutual Insurance Company. We're a statewide mutual that write in about 5-6 states in the area, based out of southwest Minnesota. Actually, the town is Cottonwood. I'm the now the director of field claims with the company, dealing primarily with property claims. Been with the company for 11 years, and in the past have dealt with several hail claims. In fact, worked hundreds, if not thousands, of hail claims in my first 5 to 7 years at the company, and also on disputed losses, because the question that you pose is a common one that's out there.
And just so our listeners know, in 2010, with the 3 tornadoes that went through Freeborn County in our area, Tom and I got to know each other really well. We had just out of our agency alone, I think we had 567 claims. Now, were they all North Star that Tom works with? No, but many of them were.
Yeah.
Hail happened. What should I do as the insured?
Okay, well, yeah. So as the insured, and this is coming from my perspective as a homeowner myself, as a policyholder myself, I think first and foremost what a homeowner should do if they think they had a hail, if they know they had a hailstorm and don't know if they had damage or not, they should call their agent. The agent is kind of the lifeline essentially to the company. They could also contact the company direct if that's the way that they're set up. But first and foremost, I tell people to contact their agent. If they have any questions at all. There's also some opinions out there that they should contact a contractor or someone to give them an opinion, maybe before they call their agent or the company to submit a claim. But I think it should be clarified, and you can speak to this more from the agency side as well. If they turn in a claim for an act of nature or something like that, it does not, quote unquote, count against them, for submitting a claim.
Great point.
So we would be more than happy to come out and assess the damage or tell you whether there is or is not, because, we are trained professionals and it's what we do every day. So
yeah. So when you do come out, Tom, what are you looking for as an adjuster?
Well, as an adjuster, when it comes, talking specifically to hail damage on roofs, there are specific things we look for. But I think first, what most adjusters will do is they will look around the exterior of the property to see if there's, every claim, when I train our new adjusters as well, I tell them every claim should tell a story. So what are you seeing around the exterior? Are you seeing broken vinyl siding? Are you finding broken or cracked plastic? Are you finding dented metal? What are you finding around the exterior? That way, when you go on the roof, you've got a good idea of what you're going to see. When it comes to shingles specifically, the rule of thumb is that you should see what we call functional damage to the shingle. So we're looking for a fracture or a bruise to the shingle mat. That's not always that easy to see. It seems like it should be easy to see, but based on the color of the shingle and that kind of thing, it's sometimes hard to really identify it without really taking a close look. Engineers have definitions of, what is functional damage, and then, of course, there's public perception on what is damage. So, you go out there and you put your best foot forward, and you look at it for functional damage, and that's kind of where that falls.
So you're telling me those people that come to town that look at your roof from the street really can't see that damage?
Unless you had hail the size of softballs and you've got a lighter colored shingle, absolutely not. It happens, sure, but we can talk about that industry a little bit, and I certainly have friends in that industry, but they've got a motivation, of course, and yes, there are times where it is much easier to identify based on the size, but normally, to give it a good and fair look, you want to be able to get up on the roof and look at it with your own eyes.
Yeah, and I've came across times where insureds will say, wow, the adjuster, he ended up pointing out where the damage was. I could not see it. And
right.
And he's the one that found it. We do have the opposite of where they say, well, the contractor's saying that I got damage and the adjuster's saying no. So what normally happens there when that happens?
Well, we don't ever want to be at odds with anyone. In fact, I've got a lot of friends in the construction field. One thing I will say is as an adjuster, there's no doubt that or anyone that works or is employed by an insurance company, they've had some formal training on identifying damage to whether it be shingles or metal or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that some contractors don't have similar backgrounds or that they're not educated, but I can tell you that the insurance professional is. So when there is a dispute, most carriers will offer up a second opinion, because they don't want to, again, they don't want an insured to feel that they haven't gotten a fair shake. But there are times, honestly, Tom, I'll say where it can be missed early on. The damage doesn't show itself early. Maybe after some hard rains, some things maybe show up a little bit more so after the fact. So it does happen certainly, but usually what we'll do is we'll offer a second opinion and try to handle and resolve that situation one at a time.
Okay, great. I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about, I got hail damage, but my neighbor doesn't. How does that happen? Okay, we'll see you in just a little bit.
You're listening to Insights to Insurance here on KATE with Americana's Tom Sorensen.
You know that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket? It doesn't make any sense. Try juggling 5 baskets full of eggs. You'll see what we mean. It's the same with insurance. At Americana Insurance, we say, go ahead, put all your eggs in one basket. Just make sure it's a darn good basket. You already trust us for farm and business insurance, so get the same great service for home, life, and auto. And if the eggs ever hit the fan, wouldn't you rather deal with one basket of insurance than 5? Americana. Give us a call at 377-2000 or just drop by.
Back here on Insights into Insurance with Americana Insurance's Tom Sorensen. And Tom, we've got a guest on the phone today talking hail.
Yep, it's the Tom and Tom show. Anyway, hey, Tom, how can one roof have damage and get paid a claim and the neighbor doesn't? What are the factors?
Yeah, well, I wish the answer to that question was simple, and it can be at times, but there are several factors that go into whether or not a shingle is impacted by hail. But to lay it out fairly plainly, first and foremost, it comes down to the severity of the hail. The size, the direction, the speed. And people say, well, if it's severe, it should do damage throughout. Correct. But then there are different shingle types out there. There are different manufacturers that make different types of shingles. For the most part, they're all composed of the same materials, but others are made to be what they call impact resistant. So there are different shingle types out there. You've seen, back in the day, 3-tab shingles were very, very common. Now everybody's going with what they call architectural shingles. They're a little bit more impact resistant, a little nicer look to them. So, the shingle type has certainly has a contributing factor to that. Another is shingle condition. I may have a brand new roof, and my neighbor's got a roof that's 15 years old and in pretty tough shape, maybe 20. That roof is likely going to not take that hail as well as my newer roof will. And then you get into so those are kind of more the, probably more the factual cases. And then there are some other things that come into play too. You do have some adjuster motivation. I used to be an independent adjuster before I came to work for North Star, and most of those individuals, very good adjusters, so don't take this the wrong way, but you are paid on a fee schedule, and the more you pay on a claim, the more you get paid. It seems a little bit backwards, actually, but there can be some adjuster motivation there, especially if they've got some travel involved. And then company philosophies. Not to get specific with North Star, but if a roof has hail damage, we're going to cover it. Some companies have a threshold that needs to be met. So many hail hits per square. So if it's large hail but infrequent and you don't have a ton of hail hits, some companies may offer a repair instead of replacement. If it's so many hits per square and it meets the criteria, well, then they'll replace it. So there are some different company philosophies out there. But one thing I will say, and that's a message I like to get out to really everybody, I don't know of a carrier or an insurance company in the world that will intentionally overlook damage to save a buck, because 9 times out of 10, that policyholder remains with that company, and if you're overlooking damage now, what could potentially happen down the road as a result of that damage? Well, it's going to be more damage, and it just seems, it seems mystery to me as to why a company would purposely overlook damage.
Right, and that damage that's overlooked now could be a lot more damage and a lot more costly in the long run. Let's say it's leaking inside the house. That gets
Correct.
Way more damage than a roof. I know, because we're in the business, but yeah, so again, I always like the philosophy that my adjusters are out there. I work with companies that are looking for how can we pay this claim, not how can we get out of this claim. And
correct. We look for coverage. I do, most of the field training now for our company, and that is first and foremost is you look for coverage. A lot of insurance or insureds or homeowners don't understand the industry. They don't understand always what they have. Our job as professionals is to point out what they do have and look for coverage.
Right, right. Yep. Well, and I, as an agent, I appreciate that from you guys, from you adjusters. The next couple of things I want to, but we only got about a minute and a half here, but
okay.
Do white spots on roof mean damage, and how about granular in the eaves?
Okay, I'll cover this quickly. The white spots I think you're referring to are likely hail spatter. So shingles that were manufactured outside of 5 to 10 years ago, the granules were not coated so as to prevent algae from forming.
Yep.
And algae forms when the roof is shaded or wet, and it kind of gives it that dark appearance. So when hail actually hits, it kind of acts as a mini, they act as little mini power washers, I guess, for lack of a better term. So you've got spatter marks, and really all that does is it just removes the algae and brings the original color of the shingle back. So that in itself is not damage. The beauty of an algae-stained roof, where you can see the spatter, is you can identify every spot where hail made an impact, and you can give that a very close look. Now, speaking to granules, if you do have some granular loss just in general in your gutter, that does not necessarily mean that your roof actually sustained, functional damage. There's a couple stats to throw out to you is the average roof contains over 1 ton or over 2,000 pounds of granules. They're meant to shed or wear over time. We equate it to a tire on your vehicle. It's meant to kind of take road wear and wear out slowly over time. Granules do serve a purpose, however. They give the shingle color, they give it weight, they offer some UV protection. So they're important. But just some general granular loss throughout the roof slope doesn't constitute damage necessarily. But if you've got impact marks where you've got granular loss with mat exposure and things like that, certainly that's something the company's going to take under consideration.
Okay, well, that's great information, Tom. And I want to say thank you for coming on the radio show today, because I think this will be some great information for our listeners. I will state to my listeners, if they are looking for an insurance quote, and especially from North Star, because Tom is here today representing North Star, that they can contact our agency at 507-377-2000 or email me at insights@Americana Insurance, and you can also email me listener questions. So thanks, Tom, and you have a great weekend.
You bet. You too. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
This has been Insights to Insurance here on KATE, brought to you by Americana Insurance.
You've been listening to Insights into Insurance from Americana Insurance Group. All information provided is intended to be educational in nature. Before acting upon any information obtained during the Insights into Insurance radio show broadcast, consult an appropriately licensed professional.